This Nicki Minaj story is taking me out for a couple of reasons. One, I don't want no smoke with you, Barbs. Let me start there. Dear Barbs, I know that there are people who sometimes aren't nice to Nicki or who are unreasonably unfair to Nicki, unduly critical of Nicki Minaj. That's not what I'm trying to do tonight. So please don't invade my space. Don't take over my timeline. Don't put my mentions in shambles. Just assume, please assume that whatever I'm saying about Nicki uh, is out of love and care, not just for her, but for the broader human family. Okay, let's start there. All right. Anyway, Nicki Minaj just stood at the United Nations today and she told the world, quite articulately, I might add, that Christians in Nigeria are under attack. It was a well attended moment, a well watched speech, one that turned her from a music superstar and a rap god, she is top five dead or alive, into a political lightning rod. In her short speech, she thanked President Trump for prioritizing the issue and said that faith in Nigeria is in danger. She said Christians are being pushed from their homes, that churches are burning, and that families are living in fear because of how they pray. Right before she spoke, U.S. Ambassador Mike Waltz backed her message and thanked her for using her voice to, quote, demand action. Now, she also was part of a bigger moment, a bigger day. See, Nicki Minaj's remarks opened a UN panel on violence in Nigeria. This was a moment that was set up by Trump advisor Alex Brusewitz. Uh, Now, if you didn't know, Nicki Minaj has been talking about this for weeks now, and she's been lining up with Trump on this issue for multiple weeks. This emerged quickly, but not completely out of nowhere. Uh, Nicki Minaj praised Donald Trump's Truth Social. That's his platform, his social media platform. He don't use X no more. Warning that Christianity in Nigeria faces a quote existential threat. She even shared pro MAGA clips and a video full of xenophobic and anti-trans attacks, a move that cost her 100,000 maybe followers, if not more. Trump's been calling Nigerian Christians persecuted. He says it's being committed, this persecution, by radical Islamists, and he has threatened to send U.S. troops over there, guns ablazing. This is literally what the man said. Um, Earlier this year in the fall, Senator Ted Cruz from Texas pushed a bill based on that same claim. Um, Now, y'all might be saying, Mark, why do you care? You talk about stuff. You do a global activist thing. You critique what's happening in other countries. You look out for the vulnerable in other places. Why can't Nicki Minaj do the same thing? It's a fair question. My answer to you is she can. I want Nicki Minaj to speak up and speak out about what's going on around the world. And while much of our attention has been focused on Gaza in the last 2 years, um, we certainly need focus placed on the continent of Africa, Northern Africa, the Horn of Africa, Southern Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, West Africa. I mean, there's plenty of work to be done everywhere. So I understand, and I think Nicki Minaj taking a look in the global into the global landscape and saying I need to address that issue is a beautiful thing. However, you know, however was coming. Uh, the truth is more complicated than this. There are groups, so don't take my word for it. Groups like Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project, the Council on Foreign Relations, they say, and all the evidence I've looked at says that there's no proof, no evidence that Christians are targeted more than Muslims. Now you might say those outside officials, those outside companies, those outside organizations don't know what's really happening. Okay, well, Nigerian politicians and Nigerian officials say the same thing. You're going to say, okay, they have every reason to lie. Why would you trust them? Okay, Nigerian citizens are also rejecting Donald Trump's claim, and now Nicki Minaj's claim and Ted Cruz's claim. Strange bedfellows. Yes, there is violence, but the violence is mixed, it's messy, and it's tied to land, to power, to community rights. Um, this is a struggle. This is not some simple black and white religious issue. Uh, and according to some researchers, including one who worked in depth with ABC News, the violence is indiscriminate. Um, Christians and Muslims are suffering the same pain. Nigeria has 220 million people. 220 million. It's pretty much evenly split between Christians and Muslims. There's danger. There's danger there. But the danger isn't specifically or exclusively to Christians. That's the point. Now, people might say, well, Christians are still under attack, Mark. Why can't we put a focus on that? Well, the problem is one, it misrepresents the problem. It makes it seem as if Muslims are going around killing Christians. Truth is, there are extremist uh, political Islamic groups, Islamist organizations that are causing considerable harm in Nigeria. Take, for example, Boko Haram. Y'all remember years ago when the Chibok girls were kidnapped in Nigeria, from Nigeria, and there was a whole "Bring Back Our Girls" campaign. That campaign was to bring back the girls. It wasn't to bring back Christians or to bring back Muslims. It was to bring back the girls. I'm all for a targeted campaign when the victims are targeted. But to make it seem as if even these extremist, obscurantists, whatever you want to call them, Islamist groups, they're also killing Muslims. That's the thing. These Islamic groups are killing Muslims. If someone isn't embracing their belief or their doctrinal approach, they're saying you're not a real Muslim. You die too. So this idea that Muslims are taking over, not true. This idea that Muslims are killing everybody, not true. It's a very small slice of extremist groups, but they're killing everybody. And so by framing it as Christians, you make it seem as if there is a specific kind of persecution happening to Christians in Nigeria, when in fact it's just extremist groups killing everybody that doesn't do what they want them to do. And if you think that it's just Christians, it's not just that you've missed the target; it's that you missed the pathway to the solution, because you think this is just about going in there, putting boots on the ground, and protecting all the Christians. And what you'll find is that there's still a whole bunch of Muslims who are going to be killed, and their lives are worth just as much as Christian lives. It also sort of obscures the actual complexities of tribal, intra and intertribal fighting, inter and intra uh, village fighting, the various ethnicities, the various religious traditions. There's so much going on in Nigeria that's complex, and we need experts to come talk to us about it. Um, but instead, they bring Ted Cruz. He's not an expert. He barely knows anything about this, and he's not honest. They got Donald Trump talking about it. He's not an expert. He knows very little about anything, and he's super not honest. So when I saw our sister Nicki Minaj up there, and when I saw her tweeting about this, appreciated, I take her at her word. I appreciated the commitment to speaking out on an issue. I appreciated her commitment to holding people accountable in power, using her platform for good. This is not a Nicki Minaj diss. However, Nicki Minaj is dead wrong about what's going on in Nigeria. That's not about my opinion. That's not about my feelings. It's not about anything. It's just a fact. And I don't care who echoes those words, they're still not true, whether it's the president as he did, whether it's the senator as he did, or as if it's Nicki Minaj as she did. It's all unfactual that they're saying. Overall, I'm not saying every detail, but overall, the premise is off. The details are muddied, as I just pointed out. And so then the question becomes, well, why is Nikki doing this? Why is she deciding to do this now? I'm not going to um, assume the worst in Nicki Minaj. I'm not going to assume that she's doing this as some cynical play for attention. I'm not going to assume that she's rebelling against the establishment like Kanye did and decide that Trump is her pathway to something. Um, I'm not going to assume that. I'm not going to assume that there is a backdoor play here for some kind of quid pro quo, a part in a commutation for somebody she cares about. Um, all of it possible. It's also possible Nikki's being sincere and just has more to learn about Nigeria and Nigerian politics. All of it's possible, but I'm not going to assume the worst about Nikki. I'm going to give her the same grace that I would give anybody else and say, look, I'll assume your intentions are good. There are a lot of people out there who don't. There are a lot of people out there, again, who assume that's one of the things I've already mentioned, but I don't want to linger there because I'm not trying to be passive aggressive or shady toward Nicki Minaj. I'm just saying, even if you are completely sincere in your efforts here, Nicki Minaj, I'm saying to you respectfully as your brother, this is still a bad idea. This is still dangerous what you're doing. This is still irresponsible what's happening, not just from you, but from all the Republicans who are doing it. And whether or not it is your intention or not, you echoing these right wing talking points and you standing next to Trump and Cruz and all these other people, you supporting the president and praising him and his platforms and all that stuff, you are making bedfellows with our open enemies. I'm not saying all Republicans are our open enemies. I'm saying that these people are our open enemies. I'm not saying all white people are our open enemies. I'm saying these people are our open enemies. I'm not saying everybody who looks at the world differently than me is my open enemy. I'm saying these people are our open enemies. And when I watch you um, traffic in these videos, these links, all of it is so deeply and profoundly misguided, but it's also deeply harmful. There's a lot of homophobia and transphobia in those videos. Nicki Minaj, I know you're not homophobic. Nicki Minaj, I know you're not transphobic. But that's why you can't stand next to these people or traffic in their stuff. I don't know if you're reading it first or if you're just posting it. You're smart. I assume you're reading carefully and making your own determinations. I just want you to have access to more information. I don't think you're being duped in that you're stupid or any of these things that people say, which I think a lot of times is anti-black and anti-black women. I'm not saying none of that. I'm saying I trust your ability to make sense of the world and to make sense of good information when you get access to it. I just want you to access more of it. So, I'm happy to have a conversation uh, with an expert and create the video that Nikki can watch. Now, of course, I'm always happy to have a conversation with Nicki Minaj on air or off. But more importantly, for me, it's about educating our audience, the literally tens of millions of people who follow Nikki. I need them. Um, I need them to get better information. I never engage celebrities or rarely engage celebrities for the purpose of convincing them. It's about convincing the audience watching about a point, about a fact, about a truth, about a danger, about a solution. That's what it's always about. Um, I don't know if Nicki Minaj is a Trump supporter or not. I don't know if she's a MAGA supporter or not, but her words and actions right now make her look like one, which means that with such influence and power, she could be guiding people down a direction that she may not even be following herself. It's not a call to change her beliefs, it's a call to be accountable and responsible for what she actually does. Anyway, y'all, thank you. Yeah, if Nikki want to come on Night School, she's welcome. I would love that. I would love that. I won't hold my breath, but I would love that. She's dope and one of the greatest MCs of all time. Not greatest women MCs, just one of the greatest MCs. Period.